Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for City of Caldwell's hearing examiner for December 3rd, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. This is a public hearing, and my name is Sabrina Durchie, and I will be your hearing examiner for today. What I can hear is quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications for the City of Caldwell. During this public hearing process, public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance and those who have signed up to speak. The sign-up sheet is at the front entrance of the room. When you testify, please come to the podium and speak directly into the microphone. Please begin with stating your full name and address. All comments should be addressed to myself and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is open, staff will present their staff report, then the applicant or the applicant's representative will be given 10 minutes to speak. After the applicant, we will allow for the public to have 3 minutes to testify. And then finally, the applicant or the applicant's representative will be permitted for a 5-minute rebuttal. After the rebuttal is given, the public hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless I decide to reopen the public hearing. We request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect. Therefore, if you could be quiet and respectful when people are testifying. And we're also required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes during our public hearings. So please silence your cell phones throughout the duration of the meeting. And thank you. Okay, so let's start with our agenda. As far as the consent calendar, I had an action item to approve from our last October 22nd, 2024 hearing examiner meeting minutes, and you received that, so we're good. And we have no old business to discuss, so we have new business. I'm going to kind of go out of order real quick. We're going to go to number 3. Public hearing was a quasi-judicial case number SUP 24-24. Applicant Casey Howe on behalf of Eckert Holdings LLP. Staff is requesting a continuance to January 14th for this item. So if you are here for this public hearing, that's going to be moved to next month on the 14th. Good? Okay. Now we'll go back in order to action item number 1. This is a public hearing case number SPP 24-4 DEV 24-8. The applicant, MTP Acquisitions 460 Florida LLC, is requesting a preliminary plat approval and a development agreement modifications to allow for duplexes for Canyon Crossing Number 2 subdivision. This is a residential subdivision with 2 duplex lots. The property is zoned R2, medium density residential, and is located on the southwest corner of Syringa Lane and South Florida Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho. And with that, staff, can you please start with your staff report? Thank you, Morgan. Morgan doesn't like you.
I
It
feel like
wants to turn green.
I think you just have to press the button continuous. Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. Morgan Besaw, Planning and Zoning. The application in front of you today is for Canyon Crossing Number 2, preliminary plat and development agreement modification. The Oh, lovely.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, thank you for your patience. The map on the screen in front of you has highlighted the 5.57 acre parcel. It is on the corner of Syringa and Florida. The conditions surrounding the site, it is primarily residential in nature, single-family residential, all surrounding this project. Immediately to the south is actually Canyon Crossing Phase 1. This site was originally intended to be one subdivision with two phases, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 was constructed, and that's the red arrow on the bottom. And the undeveloped portion that's highlighted in red was intended to be Phase 2, however, the entitlements expired, and so they are coming through for a new preliminary plat. So it'll now be a one-phase plat. Approved developments in the area, you can see on here that the area immediately surrounding the site is primarily built out and has been built out for quite some time. However, within a 1 mile radius, there are several other developments, pretty much all residential in nature that have come in over the last couple of years. As I mentioned, this is a request for a new preliminary plat and development agreement modification. The original intent for Canyon Crossing Phase 2 was to have 20 lots, which is what this application's proposing as well. However, the original intent was to have 5 duplex lots and 15 single-family lots. The applicant is requesting with this preliminary plat to turn all 20 of those lots into duplex lots. So instead of the original 25 residential dwelling units, this would be 40 residential dwelling units.
Okay.
However, the layout of all those lots would remain the same. The property is zoned R2, medium-density residential, and duplexes are a directly permitted use in the R2 zone. So if a parcel was already platted and they came in and they were R2, they would be allowed to do a duplex with no further entitlements. Because the original development agreement had the original plat that did not show duplexes on all the lots, staff has requested this development agreement modification. However, there was nothing in the original development agreement that prohibited duplexes on this lot. There was no condition saying there can never be duplexes on this lot. In fact, when this application was originally brought before council in 2016, I believe, the 20 lots were originally going to be single family, and the council at the time required that they have duplex lots to buffer this transition between the fourplexes to the south in Canyon Crossing Phase 1 and the single-family lots to the north. The original approval was September of 2016. Phase 1 is completed. All the horizontal infrastructure has been completed for Phase 2. However, the entitlements for Phase 2 expired in November 2022, and that is why the applicant is required to reapply for a preliminary plat versus just coming into final plat at this phase. Additionally, this phase of the development, because this was all one subdivision, they were required to have a certain amount of open space and amenities, and the majority of all that open space and amenities was located in Phase 2. These are some site photos. Because they have approved construction drawings, because they did have entitlements, they have installed all of the open space, the sidewalks, the pathways, the landscape berms, and the play area you can see in the top left, as well as paving all the streets and installing sidewalks in accordance with their approved construction drawings. So that's a little bit unusual. We don't typically see someone coming in for preliminary plat when they've already completed all the site work.
Sure.
As I mentioned, the area is zoned medium-density residential, so everything in bright yellow there is medium-density residential and includes Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Canyon Crossing subdivision. Everything else surrounding the area on the north, east, and west is low-density residential, and to the south there is some commercial zoning. The comprehensive plan actually currently identifies all of this site as well as everything to the west and south as medium-density residential, while everything to the north and east is identified as low-density residential. This is the plat for the property. You can see that there are 20 lots as well as the main amenities on the two south corners, on the southeast and southwest corner, as well as another common lot in the north center. The new road that goes through the middle is a U-shaped road with 2 access points on Syringa. No direct lot access will be taken off of Florida or Syringa. Everything will be taken off their internal street. The proposed development will have adequate site access and all utilities are available or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report. No outside agency comments were received with concerns for this project. City department comments provided were general comments of approval. As all the internal departments have already approved the construction drawings, they had no concerns with the project as proposed. We had no public comments received at the time of the staff report. However, we had one late exhibit public comment, which has been provided to you, that was in opposition to the project. Staff has no specific concerns related to the duplex use, as it is a directly permitted use in the R2 zone. However, the density does exceed that which is currently allowed in the comprehensive plan without a PUD. Typically, the density in the comp plan is 4 units per acre, up to 12 with a PUD. This project does not have a PUD. It came in under a different comp plan when it was designed. However, the city is in the middle of a comprehensive plan update and anticipates that this area will allow 8 units per acre in the future when this is adopted, or 12 units per acre with the density bonus. This project comes in at 7.2 approximately dwelling units per acre. And staff recommends that if the hearing examiner approves the request, that it be subject to the conditions in the packet.
Great, thank you, Morgan. I do have some questions. So let's back up and walk me through phase 1. What are those? Are apartments or those are duplexes on the
There
site?
are 11 fourplexes.
11 fourplexes. And then when this was originally approved, it was under an older comp plan, not the current comp plan.
That's correct.
And then we're going to have another comp plan update.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's going to go
okay.
through 3 comp plans.
Okay. And then why did you not recommend them doing a PUD since their density's pushing them out of the area?
So as I mentioned, it's an unusual situation where they had entitlements and all the horizontal work has been constructed. They do have substantial open space, well in excess of what would be required. Potentially staff should have asked them to do a PUD. However, they were not proposing any changes to the way the subdivision had been laid out. And it wasn't a PUD originally.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And then what is the density range in the new comp plan for this area?
Up to 8.
Up to 8.
Or 12 with the density bonus.
Or with 12 with the density bonus. Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. I do have a question for Rob, though. Rob, is all the infrastructure, everything's in, engineering's not requiring anything, or is there any leftover residual infrastructure that needs to be completed?
Thank you, Ms. Hearing Examiner. My understanding is that the main infrastructure is in. There are still some, from what I understand, the engineering plans need to be finally approved, and so I don't know if there's been such a time delay or a lapse in time that it has to be reapproved. But the information I received from the engineering department is that a final approval is still needed through engineering.
Okay.
But as for utilities, I think everything is available there on site.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions at this time. Would the applicant or the applicant's representative please come up? State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yep, that's perfect. Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. My name's Elizabeth Kekritz. I'm with Givens Pursley, 601 Bannock, Boise, Idaho. With me today is John Giuliani, who is the property owner, and also members of our engineering team, Dan Sharp and Emery Sharp. They will be able to answer any of the technical questions I'm not able to. First, let's just start by orienting you to this site. We're on the north side of the interstate at the southwest corner of the intersection of Syringa Lane and South Florida Avenue. As Morgan mentioned, the property is zoned R2, and within the R2 zone, duplexes are allowed as a matter of right. Here's a preliminary plat comparison, and this preliminary plat is substantially similar to that plat that was first approved in 2016. Unfortunately, that plat expired before all of the infrastructure and all of the improvements could be made on it, and so we're back here with almost an identical plat. I went through and I looked at all the lot sizes. They're all within 20 to 30 square feet. There was minor variations between some of them, but otherwise it is identical to the former plat. And just a little bit more by way of background, the phase one did get installed, and then it wasn't really with, I don't think anyone here, except for maybe Rob, was around with a whole bunch of back and forth on the phase two and what was required for an extension and what was not required and how it was going to work and this and that. And so just through a whole bunch of almost a comedy of errors, the plat expired, and so we are now back here with phase two of the plat. Here you can see it. It does have 20 lots. It meets all dimensional standards, and all infrastructure has been installed, including sewer, water, pressure irrigation, storm drains, sidewalks, and roadways are complete. And in answer to your question about what's remaining, we received an email today where all of the punch list items have been completed, but the paperwork associated with the punch list items still needs to be completed. So it is really close to being completely done, those infrastructure improvements. It also exceeds all parking requirements. These are going to each be two-bedroom, although the staff report's saying that there are 2 units, 2 spaces per unit. There is a 2-car garage plus space for 2 more cars on the parking pad. So this does have ample parking for this sort of development. Here, as Morgan mentioned, we are exceeding the open space requirements with 18% open space. There's a tot lot, basketball court. It's a dog park in the middle of that horseshoe. There is an extra wide buffer on Syringa, and although it wasn't required, there is fencing surrounding the development. Here are just some renderings. They're sort of tasteful, traditional duplex units that will allow a more affordable price point in this area of Caldwell, and it provides really great access to so many of the jobs in the area. Here they are in another color. Here you can see the completed tot lot. The roads and all the landscaping are complete. We have the pathway to the adjacent development and another view of the tot lot. On the left here is a letter from July 9th. All we received today was an email. And in this letter, it's discussing how the sewer, water, irrigation, storm drains, and street compaction is approved and the property's ready to pave. Obviously, since that time, the paving has happened. And then on the staff analysis, staff does mention that they have no concerns with the duplex use, that it's in compliance with the code and the character of the neighborhood. We're in agreement with all of the conditions of approval. In fact, most of the conditions have already been met. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. I do have a few questions. So I know you, to quote you, was comedy of errors and the unfortunate delay. Can you walk me through that a little bit? And then it sounds like you guys were in front of city council and your extension got denied.
Well, there were, so I believe I have, so in 2016, the city approved the rezone, and in 2017, the city approved the first final plat. On March 18th, 2020, the final plat for Phase 1 was recorded, and then in March 17th, 2021, the city approved an 18-month plat extension for Canyon Crossing Phase 2. That 18-month, that ultimately expired without getting a timely application in for an additional one, and so it was coming forward on an expired plat to try to get that continued, which isn't something that's really considered.
Sure, okay, I see. That
So
makes
it
sense
was
now.
completely over and done, but it's still, improvements had commenced meanwhile, and so the developer decided to go ahead and continue the improvements. He had the people on site, the work being done, and so he just wanted to continue through with that. And so then the city denied the renewal, and then we did a reconsideration, just to follow everything out.
Sure, no, I understand. And then, can you explain to me, or maybe the developer would, but why the change from portions of single-family to duplexes? Is there
I mean, I think it's
just
really.
the demand?
It is the demand that this is, I mean, Caldwell is growing like crazy, and there is a need for housing, and especially in this area where you're so close to interstate access and so much development and work going on in the area, that it just made sense.
Okay. I see some neighbors have signed up in opposition. I'm assuming you did a neighborhood meeting. Can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit about how the meeting, who attended,
I
issues
did-
that were raised?
I did not attend the neighborhood meeting, but I know that we do have people here who could speak to this. There has been neighborhood opposition to this since 2016. It is not new to have the neighbors who mostly live in, it's surrounded by mostly older, single-family residences. And this is an R2 zone versus the R1 zone. And so there have been neighbor concerns with the, I don't want to say typical, but with pretty standard neighborhood concerns about increased traffic and increased density and those sorts of things.
Okay. Oh, and then can you kind of highlight on what changes are going to be made to the development agreement? And I'm assuming the development agreement will be heard by council, correct? The modification, Morgan?
Yes, it will, but it should also be in your packet.
Yes, okay.
It's just an addendum that basically says, please adhere to this new file number, because there
Okay.
really isn't
There wasn't much
anything in
change,
there
I
to
noticed.
change, because there
Okay.
was no conditions prohibiting it. It's
Okay.
just an updated file number with the updated plat and updated application.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay,
That's
great.
correct.
I don't think I have any more questions at the time. We'll start now on public testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like Julian, yeah, oh, yes, that's you then, okay. Daniel Sharp did not notate? No need to speak, okay. Is there anyone else in favor of this application that would like to come up and discuss? No? Okay. I have no one signed up in neutral, and now I'm going to go to the opposition column. Sue Kushlin? Hello, Sue.
Hi.
Name and address, yep.
Sue Kushlon, 121 South Louisiana, Caldwell, Idaho. I live across Syringa from this development. We are once again before a hearing examiner to discuss MTP acquisition 460 Florida. I'm very disappointed to have to be here today. I've been a part of this, as a lot of the neighbors, since 2016. I've always wondered why such a small development should take 8 years or longer, when many larger ones locally, within 3 or 4 years, they're built, housed, and everything. But I think I know. This developer has never followed through with what he agreed to do. There were modifications after modifications, every step, and I mean every step of the way. To the best of my recollection, since Phase 1 started through now, he's made 8 changes to his idea. As a neighborhood, we were finally at peace with the last plan of 15 homes and 5 duplexes. It fit in with the existing single-family homes that bordered 3 sides on Syringa in Florida. In 2016, the hearing examiner denied the second phase request as he felt there was a need to transition from fourplexes to duplexes to single-family homes in order to fit in with the surrounding neighbors. Now he wants to cram even more people into that small acreage, and what he wants to build does not fit in with the existing family homes. I kind of did a timeline. Originally, that part of the development was approved with 31 residential lots and 5 common lots on August 15, 2016, with the development agreement recorded as instrument, and I could say it. He required an 18-month time extension consisting of 25 dwelling units, 15 single-family units, and 5 duplex units. The first extension was granted. Then he came back. The hearing examiner at the time still said there should be transition from the fourplexes to duplexes to family homes, single-family homes. Anyways, I kind of have a timeline here, but anyways, the neighborhood was at peace with the 15 homes, 5 duplexes, because it transitioned all along. Hearing examiners have said, you have to transition in order to fit in with the neighborhood. And we finally thought, yay, we've settled on something, he's going to do it, and now he wants to change yet again. That's all.
Sue, I do have some questions. So, can we bring up an aerial, just so I can see where Sue lives and kind of get a vicinity? But while they're bringing that up, can you discuss, you said 8 changes that were made?
I'm guessing at least
Okay.
8, because on phase 1, he changed it 4 times alone
Okay.
for what he was going to build there, and he settled on the fourplexes.
Okay. And your understanding is that it's going to be developed. Clearly, the infrastructure's
The
in, it's
neighborhood-
going to be,
The neighborhood knew that whole corner was going to be built. When he came back with the 15 homes, 5 duplexes, we thought, good, he's transitioning just like as requested by the Planning and Zoning Hearing Examiner, and, which was Mr. Mapp. And we thought, okay, we can live with this. He just needs to get on with it and build it, get it over with. And now he's wanting to change it again.
okay.
And as was from the very beginning in 2016, one of the neighborhood's concerns was by cramming that many people in such a small area, the chance for high crime rate goes up. Well, to my knowledge, we've had the SWAT team down there 3 times, and that's just what I know about. Other neighbors will say they come once a month. I even took pictures of the SWAT team in action one day, and they don't like their picture taken.
And that's in phase 1?
That's in phase 1, and yes, where the fourplexes are. And we just don't, the fence has been tagged, his new vinyl fence has been tagged twice that I've taken pictures of and turned it into the city of Caldwell. The freeway sound wall has been tagged at least twice. So where I live, if you go right across Syringa to the north, there looks like there is a pasture
Like directly north of the site?
where the big red what's-he-do is.
Okay.
I live
yes.
underneath the black dot.
Okay, okay. I got you.
There's an alley there.
Okay.
Another concern I had, and it's a moot point because whether it's all duplexes or homes, which we want, is that one of their streets almost aligns with the alley that goes behind the house. And I foresee issues with people taking shortcuts down the alley.
Oh, okay. I think
And
that's,
that's never going to change.
sure, and I think that alignment's probably required by the city.
Well,
as
it's
far
not
as-
quite
yes.
perfectly
Perfectly
aligned.
aligned? Okay.
But it's enough to where I can see people zooming down the alley to avoid being seen on the street.
Okay,
We
sure.
have those in our neighborhood.
Okay.
It's happened before. But anyways, yeah, you can't even see my house because I'm under the
Applicant request,
the
I get it.
The ANT of applicant.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha, no worries.
But it just, we finally, after 8 years, we finally thought, okay, this is done. He's going to do what he promised the city he would do. Guess what? Didn't happen. So we're a little frustrated.
That's understandable. Okay.
So that's all.
Is that it?
That's
Is that
it.
it, Sue?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Next up to speak is Phyllis Jewett.
Okay, can she come up and, because I can't hear her very
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Hi, Phyllis.
My name is Phyllis Jewett. I live at 403 Hill Lane, and my property backs to his property.
To the west.
The whole back of
Okay.
my property. Okay?
Okay. Are you at the intersection of the west side or the south portion of that?
She's, is it where the big green pasture is? Is it where the pasture is?
Yeah, see,
The second property up,
Okay.
I believe.
I see.
the third one.
Third
up,
one up.
Where the tree is up there, the big tree.
Yep, I see it.
And the
Okay.
long building, that's mine.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Phyllis. Yeah.
Okay. So, we are fed up with this guy. I mean, totally fed up. It has just, he has never done what he is told to do, and we all want senior housing up there. We are so sick of those apartments and all the SWAT teams. I mean, you wake up in the morning and here's a SWAT team behind your house. It's not fun. You lock your doors and wonder what in the world's going on. So somebody needs to do something. Somebody needs to tell him to do what he is told to do. He's been told to put in play area for the kids. He has not done that. And so the kids go over to my church, which is across the street, which leaves the church liable if a child gets hurt. Anything that he has been told to do, he has not done.
So Phyllis, what playground are you talking about? Because they do have the tot lot. I saw a picture of that. Is there something else that they're supposed to be doing that they have not done yet?
They put in a tot lot and a playground in phase one, but in
Phase two, yes.
But there was nothing done in phase one, and until phase two was built, the kids went across to the church.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Put the church liable
Okay,
for any
sure.
injuries.
And it's my church, yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it's just been nothing but a real pain. And then he came in and he actually did put the fence in, which was nice. But he said he was taking a foot of my property. And I said, no, you're not. We had my property surveyed, and I've got it in my safe, but it was probably 66, 67, around in there. The freeway was not even a freeway. It was just a just a regular road. And they found the pin in the middle of the road so that they could find the corners of where the property was.
Sure.
So I have put railroad ties. We have put on all four corners of our property. He pulled out one of them.
Okay.
I told him to put it back in, but it is not back in yet. But anyway, I ended up gaining property on the back part of me, which, I mean, they stood up there and they said no, and they said, you stood up on my thing and it said, yes, it's a direct line. I said, yes, it is a direct line. It's all been done, and and we're so sick of the graffiti. We never had graffiti until all of those apartments come in, and I think there has been very few people that have been missed. I mean, they put up the really nice vinyl fence. Within 2 weeks, it was graffitied. And it's blue paint or black paint. And, I mean, it's terrible. We're like I said, we're just all absolutely sick of this man. And I've told him before that he is a liar, and he is, because he doesn't do anything he's supposed to do, and you guys don't make him do it.
Okay. And Phyllis, you feel like the developers the one that's doing the graffiti?
Pardon me?
Who do you think's, who do you think's causing the?
It's gangs.
Okay, so,
What is it?
I mean,
Who is doing the graffiti? It's the
I,
gangs.
it's a gang.
okay,
Yeah, it's gang, it's whatever their signs are, you know, and people will take it all off, turns right around and it's right back on. They've had it on the big wall that they put up on the freeway. It wasn't up there just a couple weeks and it was graffitied.
yeah, that's
And it's
unfortunate.
been graffitied a couple times.
Okay, okay,
And somebody went and was taking pictures of it, and somebody was sitting and watching them take pictures of it. And when they left to take, they followed them. And if that is intimidation, I don't know what is.
interesting.
And I'm sorry, but I have lived there since
Long time.
1965. And we have never, ever, ever had this.
Yeah, that sounds
It's
unfortunate.
terrible.
Okay,
We want senior housing, we don't want anything else.
all right, Phyllis, I'll bring up a few of the items that you discussed when the applicant comes back up for rebuttal to answer, okay?
Now say that again.
She's going to bring it up to Giuliani when he comes up for rebuttal.
Okay, all right.
Was that it? Not yet.
I don't think there was anything else. I think that was it,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, you're so
Okay.
welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Next, I have Terry Conner or? Kohler, okay, close.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hi, how are you all today?
good,
Merry Christmas.
thank you.
First thing is,
Oh, give me your address, name
oh,
and
I'm sorry,
address.
one other neighbor was unable to attend due to health issues. Could I submit her comments yet?
You want to give it to Morgan, please?
This is Carol Jones, and I didn't get her address, I'm sorry.
Do you want to have her read it into the,
Yes.
no? Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get Carol's address on this, my apologies. My neighbor Carol Jones, who's typically with us at these hearings, is unable to attend due to health issues. Thus, I am delivering her comments for your consideration and submitting a copy for the permanent record. This is Carol's words, the former hearing examiner, performing in an official advisory capacity, recommended a transition of dwellings in Canyon Crossing from fourplexes to duplexes to single-family homes with designated space for activity areas for the children of the development. Approval was given by the City Council in good faith that this transition be done and other conditions be complied therewith. Mr. Giuliani agreed to all of this at the time. There is no valid reason to negate the conditions of the original approval and the recommendations of the original hearing examiner. There is no valid reason for Planning and Zoning and the Caldwell City Council to allow him to invalidate what was approved prior. This developer has, over the past 9 years, displayed a pattern whereby his delays and requests for alterations appear as intentional in order to fatigue our neighborhood and the city of Caldwell into accepting his many modifications. The most accurate predictor of future behavior is past behavior. The record demonstrates a pattern by this developer. He submits a plan which is ultimately approved by the city of Caldwell. He then comes back with yet another request. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Again, please just hold Mr. Giuliani to the conditions of the approval. Okay? These are copies of mine. Should I give them to him? All right, thank you. Okay, for myself, please. My name is Terry Kohler. My address is 111 South Louisiana Avenue, 2 houses north of Phase 2 of Canyon Crossing. I am here presenting comments for myself and my family, currently at our oral surgeon, as well as some of my neighbors who are working and thus unable to attend, but who hold views similar to our own. We kindly but emphatically ask that you deny the request of this developer to put duplexes where they had agreed to put single-family homes in the Canyon Crossing development. Our neighborhood has made our concerns known since back in 2015. The city council meeting room was almost full of people from our neighborhood in opposition. We collected somewhere between 300 and 400 signatures during the last approval process for Canyon Crossing. It seemed to have no impact on the decision of the city council. In fact, one of the former city council members snidely told us at the end of the process, "Get used to your new neighbors." The compromise of transition housing in the approved 2016 development agreement seemed the best that we could hope for. It was what the hearing examiner from Boise recommended. But according to the project's current engineer, this original plan has now been thrown out due to some legal flaws in the process. The engineer, representing MTP Acquisitions and John Giuliani, said that all of this is the fault of the city council for not granting the second extension. The engineer told us basically that now they can do whatever they want as long as it's R2. Neither we nor the city have any recourse. I tried to submit some videos that I did, but I wasn't able to, and I didn't get to it on time. But I have some short videos that we collected at the July 29th meeting, and I apologize for my lack of getting on it soon enough, but so this is in reference to those. Please watch the 8 short videos I am submitting of excerpts from our neighborhood's July 29, 2024 meeting with the engineer and his brother. He claimed they are making this change because the city of Caldwell is fundamentally demanding that they build higher density housing. I submit to you that that is just wrong. What we need are single-family homes so the young people who grew up here can afford to buy, not just throw their money away on rent. Our neighborhood is one of smaller homes. It fits the bill. Young families can own their homes and build equity. They are vested in the community. The new neighbors I have are typically young families. They don't have to move away because they can't afford to live in their own hometown. Based on the content within the 8 videos, I have 2 questions for planning and zoning today, please. Number 1, the engineer states in video number 2, and this is a quote, "The fact of the matter is, the city code, the city comprehensive plan not just requires but encourages high-density development in this zone area." Okay. If you wanted this not to be the case with the city code is what needs to change. This developer has bought this with the right to develop this on this property, ... So on that last plan that you're talking about, that was the way it was. The city changed their code in between the last plan and this plan. They changed it, and then they rejected everything for him. They rejected his subdivision even though it was mostly built. That's why we're in front of you now, unquote. My question, please, is whether this assessment of our city code is accurate. Did it change as the engineer stated?
Okay, Terry,
Okay.
we can maybe have Morgan discuss that and talk about the zoning changes that have affected the property.
I did have a little bit. I did look at the proposed changes.
Okay.
And I didn't see where it forced them to put higher density housing in.
Morgan Bisa, Planning and Zoning. Nothing that the city has done would obligate them to come in and request to change everything from single family to duplex, so the city's not forcing that change. I will say that the city chose to rezone them from R1 to R2, so that was the city's choice at the time.
Right.
And R2 does allow more density than R1, and it does allow duplexes, so it allows a different type of housing product. So I would say that
Yeah, it's been R2 since back in 2016, and that's why the duplexes were part of that. But he claimed that and I've got the videos, he said the city was demanding higher density housing.
And I think Terry, she said that is not
Yeah.
the case. But
Yeah, right.
in the
That's
zoning
just-
code for R2,
Right.
they
I
have
agree.
the
Yeah.
availability to either do single family or duplex. So
And
Right.
the only
yeah.
thing else that I can think that maybe they were referring to is the city is redoing their comprehensive plan at the moment.
Right.
And so they are looking at the city as a whole across the entire area. And the densities probably will be increasing to limit an R2 density, a medium density to 4 units per acre is pretty low if you look at any other jurisdiction.
So how many would that put in in this little plot then? I'm not doing the numbers right in my head. Would that change his plan from 40 units
Well,
in this 5 acre?
the applicant is requesting currently 40 units on 5.57 acres, which comes out to 7.2 units per acre.
So that fits in what the city is now?
I think that that will fit with the city's comprehensive plan that they are looking at adopting, yes, the city's current comprehensive plan draft. That is still under review. It does intend to raise the density of a medium density designation up to 8 units per acre or 12
Right.
with a density bonus.
But it doesn't fit with what the original hearing examiner said about the transition housing. And that's what Mr. Mapp told us is the best for a community. That's what he recommended is the better course for a community is the transition housing.
I suppose it, depends on your interpretation. It still would be going from fourplex in Canyon Crossing Phase 1 to duplex in Canyon Crossing Phase 2 to single family across Syringa Lane. So there is still a transition from fourplex to duplex to single family. It just depends on, how you choose to lay that out. And we are
So-
not proposing anything for the applicant. We're just reviewing their
So his
application.
delays are allowing him to do this, yeah. And
Well, they
should I
have the
read the rest
ability
of
to
my-
request whatever they would like to request.
Should I read the rest or something?
No, that's, you can, but we're gonna have to wrap it up, because
Okay.
they'll give me the face, like you're over your limit, so.
Okay, but were the questions part of that, or is that?
No, you're fine, go ahead.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. Number 2, also from video number 2, this is some quotes. Engineer, they've rejected this subdivision, the one on the left, Sukushlan. Okay, so who rejected it? Engineer, the city council. Sukushlan, I go to every single city, quote, ... city council meeting, ... They rejected a second application for the extension. That's what they rejected. I was there. Engineer, so by rejecting the second application, that puts us back. We don't have any of the requirements, any of the development agreement. Anything that he was held under or that the city was held under went away. I've looked at the draft future land use and don't understand how he came to this conclusion. My question is, could you please explain whether this is accurate and if our neighborhood has any recourse to request that the city have the developer build the plan to which we all agreed years ago? Or could we request the city to rezone back to R1? We feel like we're being railroaded again. Since 2015, John Giuliani has asked for multiple extensions and changes on this project, phases 1 and 2. He was told by the city to complete the play areas prior to doing anything further on phase 2. They were just recently completed in the last couple of months, which he clearly ignored if you've observed the workings, but now that I see the pictures. The engineer said the requests for extension were multiple. One was because of the COVID issues. Another, and I quote the engineer, quote, and then they ran up against their deadline to get the first one when we had all the utilities in and most of the road in. So the city denied their request for a time extension and wanted us to go through the process again. Part of that process is that we've already had a roundtable meeting with the city of Caldwell, unquote. This is just 2024.
So Terry, so you're quoting from the neighborhood meeting?
Yes,
that was
I've
held?
got the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the engineer stated he joined with John, and this is a key point here for me, please, and then this is it. The engineer stated that he joined with Mr. Giuliani in 2020, and he has worked on other projects with Giuliani. Other projects. Since 2020. Our concern is why this project has been continually delayed by Mr. Giuliani when they were able to work on other projects at the same time. Quote from the engineer, I've been involved with him on 2 projects. Our neighborhood feels absolutely deceived and totally played by not only the developer, but maybe the city of Caldwell. My husband and I are just trying to protect our special needs young adult. She's 30 and our only child. Our home is 2 houses north of phase 2. At this point, we plan for it to be her lifetime home and hopefully other special needs roommates and their caregivers. We are hoping that planning and zoning in the city of Caldwell will agree with us that building single-family homes in the remainder of Canyon Crossing is the best result for the future of the city of Caldwell and the city's current residents. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Terry.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, I don't have it marked, but Carla Short? Would you like to speak? Are you sure? This is your time. Okay. Kirby, would you like to speak? No. Okay. Are you sure? Okay. The applicant's representative like to come back up and speak, please?
Thank you. Elizabeth Kekaritz with Givens Pursley, 601 Bannock. I've asked John to step up here with me. I think he can shed light on some of these issues and on some of the timeline issues. There have not been change after change after change made, and in fact, many of these people, these are the same neighbors that opposed any former time extensions, who've generally just been against this development from the beginning. However, this is a good development. It does meet with all of the city code requirements. We have not seen what the housing bonus allowances would be, but there could be up to, in the future, up to 60, I think by my math, it was about 65 units on this property, looking at what would be allowed with up to 12 units on a 5.5 acre property. Mr. Giuliani here, he has been very involved in the community. One of the big projects that he worked on while this was pending, and one of the reasons why this didn't get completed on the same timeline, is that he was also working very closely with the city of Caldwell and the Caldwell Economic Development Director. He is the owner and operator of Montana Timber Products, and they opened up a big new facility here while all of this was going on that actually employs about 100 employees. And during much of this time, much of his capital, especially with COVID going on, was also tied up in that. And so he's here. He can certainly address some of this and some of the delays and what he's looking forward to. Just on a couple other things, we understand there's some transition going on in the neighborhood. However, it's not, Mr. Giuliani is not out tagging his own work, out his own developments. To our knowledge, there's been no showing that it's anyone who's living in the fourplexes that are creating these issues. But if those are brought to the police's attention and to his attention, he would, of course, really take action against that to the extent that he can. But he's not the one, and he doesn't receive the direct information on some of the crime that is allegedly occurring directly adjacent to this.
Sure. So I'm really concerned about the confidence that the neighbors have. What kind of outreach have you guys provided, communication with these neighbors? Clearly, they feel like they've been tossed around and deceived. So can you discuss more communication and what has occurred, and especially Phyllis was talking about her fence line and stuff. Can you address some of those things that were brought up today during their testimony?
Well, I understand that this has taken a really long time, much longer than a development like this typically would take, but it did get mixed up in the COVID issues and the capital issues. And so I do understand that it feels like there's been a lot going on here. However, John has also been frustrated with the process and how long it's taken, and the ability to, at every step of the way, to now being told we really liked the last plan, when the neighborhood was all against the last plan also. And so it has been, I know there has been a lot of sort of back and forth and some issues over time, but he is here, he's ready to go forward with this. There currently is not a plat on the property, there's not an approved preliminary plat on the property. There is a development agreement that shows that it's going to be developed in some very similar permutation of what's in the development agreement. And he's ready to move forward with that. As far as it's my understanding that it was an encroachment onto his property. And so he has worked on going through the process on dealing with the encroachment onto his property. As far as that is with, I believe it was, Phyllis. I do get, like, this is a change in the neighborhood. It is higher density residential, it is the R2 zone, but it's also we're really here on a plat. And it meets all of the dimensional standards of a plat.
And would you, I guess maybe for John, maybe I have a few questions for him. Maybe I'll leave the rest I have for him. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. Name and address?
John Giuliani, business address 2618 South KCID here in Caldwell.
Okay, thank you. First, before I ask questions, is there anything that you'd like to start and state before I have started?
Sure. No, I appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity. There's certainly history.
Yeah.
You know, I moved a little bit with myself. We moved down here about 12 years ago with our business at the point in time where we didn't have anything. We didn't have any employees. We had a vision to build a company. And as the company started to build, which is Montana Timber Products, as Elizabeth shared, we saw our opportunity. The industrial park hadn't built out yet. Nothing had happened. It was designated as such, but there's going to be a need for workforce housing. And so we started with our fourplex development. First time we've developed, there's absolutely been some bumps in the road and disruption, and I take ownership for that. It's not development isn't perfect, and I'm at the time wasn't a pro. I'm still not a pro, but we've tried to do the best we can. Up until the last phase, which is presented here. We got most of it, of the infrastructure into the ground, and then we were in the process, COVID hit. I contacted the planning director at the time and said, hey, we're going to run up against our extension here, and it was Steve Foltz. And we know Steve because when we moved down here, Steve helped us find our first business location, and Steve's response was, we'll be fine. And then at the time, Steve and the City of Caldwell Economic Development also helped us locate and find a new location for our business. And so, when we got delayed, it was in part because we were in COVID and we were having a hard time getting through the final infrastructure phases. Idaho Power as an example, it seems like a long time ago, it was a few years. And then our business was in a position where we really needed to expand. And so we took about 2 years. So the other projects that our engineers helped us on is we bought the corner of the KCID in Linden next to the airport terminal, and we developed that and built a new factory. And so all of that took a period of time and capital. And so I'm kind of the one-man band relative to how we put things together, and it took time to get through that. And I learned through working in development in the city with the city and here and other places is you never know what's going to come up. So I was really conscious of preserving capital. For example, when we found out that there wasn't a water line out in KCID and we needed to put one in and. So we got through that process, and I was really mindful of trying to get back to get the final phase of this done. It felt that we had, a kind of affirmative, informal approval process. It turned into be a lot more than that, in part because each time we've tried to move through an extension process or otherwise, there's always consistent narrative from the neighborhoods regarding how bad it is. And it's not perfect, but I can assure you, I'm not the one that's spray painting the fence. I'm not the one that, if there's a SWAT team, I apologize, and I'm sensitive to the neighborhood, but I'm real sensitive to the person that has a domestic disturbance issue that they're dealing with. And so, growth happens, and what I hear, and I'm mindful of too, is it comes with challenges, and it's a community challenge. And I feel like that I've been identified as this kind of villain of the neighborhood, in part because of these community challenges that continue to occur. I'm mindful of them. I'm not happy about it, and I hope that things can improve. So,
Okay.
a little bit of background regarding who I am and what we've done. And our primary business has been a core focus, and that's gone really well. We employ about 100 people now from zero, so I'm really proud of that. And it's made a significant contribution into the community.
Great.
So, questions?
Yes, questions. Okay, so if I did decide to approve this, what's your timeline?
Yeah,
Like,
good question.
Because
Yep.
they've been through enough, so.
Fair,
what-
100%. And-
What do you have left over?
To
What do you
illustrate the
need to-
commitment, we finished a subdivision this last year, and we have final punched out from the city without any approvals. So we took a risk. I mean, we are already, halfway done, but we finished it. Because I'm mindful of it. I don't want there to be a field that's subdivision that's half finished. It's done. The improvements are all in. We're ready to start construction. We would have started construction months ago, but we're back in this process with the city. I'm not happy about it. It's cost me time, money,
Sure.
anguish for the neighborhood, so immediately.
But you didn't answer, like, what?
Yes.
What punch list, what
The-
items
oh,
are
yeah, there's
left
nothing.
over?
I mean, we got an email from the engineer today, and it's paperwork. We can't file for a final plat because we don't have preliminary plat approval. I mean, we're
Okay.
going through this
So it's just
process right now, so it's administrative.
Did you consider at all putting single-family in to transition, or was
When
that
we-
even?
Years ago, again, in fairness to the neighbors, it's been a long period of time. And market changes, the area's, really growing up. There's a significant need for workforce housing, that, together with the fourplexes that we built, it's everywhere. And so on the housing ladder and continuum, we see an opportunity, with the site that we have, given the updates to the code and the comp plan, to be able to have a higher level of density, from 25 to 40, to provide a housing opportunity for people, families, that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have. Not everybody can afford a single-family home, right? Not everybody can, fits into a fourplex, two-bedroom apartment. Some people need more. And so we think this is a real opportunity, particularly given the proximity to the industrial employment opportunities, to be able to provide that to the market.
My final question is, what do you think you can do to help regain the confidence with the neighbors?
I feel like we can finish the project and build nice, quality product, take care of the grounds. We've been really mindful of that within the neighborhood. I mean, we want it to, we have a lot of pride of ownership. We want it to look good, and I think that's something that we can control.
Okay, I don't think I have anything else. Does anyone have any closing? Do you have anything
No.
else you'd like to add?
I don't think you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, Morgan, do you have anything that you need to add? Oh.
No, I don't think I have anything to add
Okay.
unless you have any questions.
I don't. So I'm going to close the public hearing. And this is tough. This is a tough one, and I appreciate everyone's time. The issue that I have is I have to look at what the zoning code allows, and I can't base it off of, crime or graffiti. My job is I have to solely look at the zoning code, and duplexes are allowed in the R2 with the new comp plan. So with that, I'm going to recommend approval to City Council for this application, SUP 24-4, and then I don't know if I can recommend anything on the development agreement. Should I? Okay. I'll also recommend approval for DEV 24-8, the development agreement modification. So, thank you. We now next will look at case SUP 24-20. The applicant is Kyle Pruitt on behalf of BHEG Cerro Ridge LLV is requesting a special use permit to increase the maximum allowable entry monument sign letters of 32 square feet to 52 square feet. This project is located on the northwest side of Aviation Way, approximately 300 feet north of the intersection with Ustick Road in Caldwell, Idaho. Okay, staff, is this you again, Morgan? No? Oh, hello. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello.
Madam Hearing Examiner. Can we go ahead and get, yes. Yes, there we go. So again, good afternoon. I'm April Cabello, Planning City Planner at 205 South 6th Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho. The application in front of you this afternoon is for a special use permit for Toll Brothers to increase the max subdivision entry sign size from 32 square feet to 52 square feet at the specified location within the Passero Ridge subdivision. The subject site location is located north of Orchard Avenue between South 10th Avenue and Montana Avenue in a common lot on the southwest corner by the intersection between Ceres Drive and South Montana Avenue in Caldwell, Idaho. The site has frontage along Orchard Avenue and South Montana Avenue. The site exists within an R1 single-family zone. Conditions surrounding the subject site. The project site is currently surrounded by single-family residential to the east, city park and single-family residential to the west, and county ag land to the north and south. The background on the and the history of this site: the subject property was annexed in 2005 with the development agreement and the zoning designation of R1 low-density residential. The Passero Ridge Plan Unit Development received preliminary plat approval on December 6, 2021. In 2023, three final plats were recorded, with 3 more phases to record. The ordered decision for the preliminary plat did not indicate any requests or approvals for subdivision monument sign exceptions. The applicant was informed by staff that a special use permit would be required to exceed the maximum 32 square feet in area allowed by the signage code.
Okay.
Oops. I must have missed something here. I do apologize.
you're fine, April.
Zoning and land use analysis. Of course, the request today is for a special use permit in the single-family residential zone for an exception in the allowed subdivision entry sign size location on a common lot in the Passero Ridge subdivision. It is surrounded by existing residential, city park, and ag land. Comprehensive plan, the subject site is designated as low-density residential on the comprehensive plan map. The subject site is surrounded by residential, open space, environmentally sensitive, and residential estates. Staff review and analysis. Staff noted that the allowed max signage, entry signage in the R1 low-density zone is 32 square feet. City code does stipulate that it can be increased with and exceed the size of the sign by use of special use approval. Staff finds that the request for the signage size exception is compatible with the surrounding uses. The sign elevation and the rendering for the requested 52 square feet of the subdivision as shown on the screen.
Okay. April, real quick, so are they wanting, that was my one question during the staff report, are they requesting the font size to be larger as well as the entire sign, or is it just the font size?
It's just the font size, so the
Okay, so-
signage is just the Passero Ridge wording, the
And
letters.
signage, the size of the monument meets code requirements, it's
Yes.
just the lettering?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that, okay.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine, no, it's probably me.
Public agencies were notified, and no one had response. All responses were, they had no comment or concerns, and city departments approved with no comments. And there was no public comments received. Staff has no concerns for the request to increase the maximum allowed entry monument sign lettering from 32 square feet to 52 square feet at the specified location in the Passero Ridge subdivision. One thing is landscaping around the signage shall be in accordance with the code 10-02-06 as stated in the staff report.
Okay.
And staff just feels that it is consistent and with the surrounding uses. And with that, we'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you, April. I don't think that was my only question on just
Okay.
the clarification for that. So I am good for now.
Okay.
So, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to come up, speak your name and address for the record?
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. Kyle Pruitt, 3103 West Sherrill Drive, Meridian, Idaho, 83642.
Hi, Kyle.
Hello. I'm gonna go through. I will try to not take 10 minutes. Hopefully this will be quite a bit shorter. This we feel is a pretty simple request. Again, this is just for the monument sign lettering. It is currently just, I believe it's 30 square feet currently, and we would like to increase that to approximately 52 square feet, which would be over what is currently allowed in the R1 zoning designation, which would be more in line closer to the R2. The R2 allows up to 100 square feet for the monument size lettering, so we felt that this is kind of a happy medium in between what's allowed in R2 versus what's allowed in R1, which is what the site is zoned. We just didn't really want to go overboard. And again, this is currently, the sign is 15 feet wide, or excuse me, the lettering is 15 feet wide and 2 feet in height. We would be increasing the 15 feet width to 20 feet, and we would be increasing the height from 2 feet to 2.5 feet. So 2 feet, 5 inches, approximately 2.5 feet. So again, it's a fairly, when it comes to just looking at the sign, it's a fairly moderate, minimal increase, I would say, because currently, this request is coming from, sales, homeowners. The sign looks disproportionate, so we just, it just doesn't quite look right because the wall that it is mounted on is fairly large and it meets, the city requirements, but the lettering itself, it does look disproportionate, so we wanted to reach out and ask for permission to increase that size, and again, not go up to the R2 zoning designation, what's allowed there, but try to be a happy medium for the 52 square feet. This is a current sign. Unfortunately, we can't get the full scale of the wall itself, but this is just an idea. The landscaping is already installed. This is, I guess, if we're allowed to remove the sign and install a new one, this is the temporary sign that's currently there. It is lit at night so that, for wayfinding, people can see it at night. The by Toll Brothers underneath will not be changing. This is just the Passero Ridge lettering above that would change.
Okay, so Kyle, this is what you're proposing.
This is what's installed. This is
this
the
is
current,
what's currently on
This is
site
what
right
is
now.
currently on
Okay.
site. And yes, this is the landscaping is installed. So this would be, from each side, it would be increasing 2.5 feet from each side, so 5 feet in total, and it would be gaining in height just 6 inches, 5 inches. So it's a, in the scale of things, it would be a fairly minor change in our opinion. But we feel that, to help, adhere to what, this, we just think it doesn't quite look right. We would like to make the change at the end of the day. So again, this is the change, it'd be, 20 and a half feet, not 20 feet. And then 2 feet and 5 inches from the current 15 feet in width and the 2 feet in height. So this would be the change. Nothing else is changing, just again, the Passero Ridge lettering. The wall again, the retaining wall essentially that it's installed on, it's all installed, not changing. Same with the landscaping. We propose no changes there.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all I have.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions for you.
Perfect. Great.
And I don't know, I don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Great.
So, do you want to have any rebuttal time, or?
Nope, I'm good. If you're good, then I am as well.
Morgan, do you guys have any questions, or? Okay, great. Okay,
Thank you so much.
I will close this public hearing, and based on staff's findings, public testimony, and facts, I will approve the special use permit to increase the maximum allowable entry monument sign letters for this application, SUP 24-20. Thank you. All right, now on to our final action item of this afternoon, and this is, oh, I get Joe, I get all you guys today. All right, okay, real quick. SUP 24-23, the applicant is Enoch Wart, on behalf of Joseph Brandt, is requesting a special use permit approval to construct a duplex in R1 zone. The site is located at 2418 Ellis Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho. All right, Joe. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Appreciate it. Again, name is Joe Dodson, Senior Planner here at City of Caldwell, 205 South 6th Avenue. Right? Is that our new address?
What is the address?
You pretty much said everything, so I think I can just sit down.
Okay.
It is hopefully a very simple request. Project name is just Brandt Duplex because of the owner. It is a special use permit, an SUP, to do a two-family dwelling or a duplex within the R1 zone. The site is located at the northwest corner of Ellis and Linden Street, very near Linden and Kimball. It's just an undeveloped site. It was previously part of the site to the west. They did a lot split a few years ago with the intention of developing this site. Nope, too far. It's largely a residential neighborhood, but there is a church directly across Ellis to the east, and the properties to the south are actually zoned for some commercial, including the vacant lot directly to the south. But in general, it is a single-family residential neighborhood with a future land use designation of low-density residential. This is the site plan that was submitted. I will note that this application came through, there was some, frankly, mishap between staff and the applicant when I started here. This got submitted as a building permit rather than an SUP. The city approved the building permit initially, then we caught our mistake that they needed an SUP, revoked the permit, and now we're here. And so now they're submitting the SUP consistent with code requirements. However, the permit was reviewed and approved by everybody, so the site plan
It's just holding
and
by
everything, it's
building
all
permit.
good to go.
Okay.
Nothing, the access point has already been done, they've already dedicated the right-of-way, utilities are there, everything. So it's basically just the use that we have to meet for,
So the building has been built?
no, the building has
No,
not
it
been built.
hasn't, but everything else has been
Yes.
improved? Okay.
So again, the site is zoned R1, there is C1 to the south and R2 to the south as well, but generally it's an R1 neighborhood. Again, site plan on the west, or the left side of the screen, their submitted landscape plan on the right side. As noted, the site plan and everything complies with code. The caveat to that is their landscaping. Because of the right-of-way that had to be dedicated along Linden, staff reviewed the landscaping in a specific way because it just eats up a lot of their land. And so there are very specific conditions in the staff report regarding where and how they should place the landscaping, including requiring a landscape easement along the south boundary on their private property so that they can install those trees that are currently shown south of the fence to have them, actually, they're showing the fence really close to the sidewalk, which is within the right-of-way. They cannot do that. We've requested they move that. They've agreed. But place basically you see the property line that's kind of curved slightly on the south side.
Yeah.
That is where they should move their fence. We've asked that they put the trees interior to the site as well, so that way, should Linden ever get widened, the trees don't get taken out with it.
Okay.
Same thing with Ellis. We're allowing them to place their landscaping within the right-of-way, as there's no anticipation of any widening for Ellis Avenue. Again, this is all outlined in the staff report and our very specific conditions of approval. The applicant has reviewed the staff report and, from my understanding, has not requested any deviations from those conditions of approval. Access, again, to the site, it was previously reviewed. It's very north side of the property, as far away you can get from the intersection, so it's as legal as it can be. Again, utilities, water, sewer are available to the site. As I did note, we had those specific landscape conditions to make
Saw
sure they
that.
comply with code. And then the south elevation. Currently, because it's a two-story duplex, as proposed, the south elevation is kind of one plane and one building material. Staff found it prudent, since it does face Linden, which is an arterial street, to basically request just one change, to change the gable of the roof into a different material like they have on the north side, to help break up that facade, because as the trees mature, you won't be able to see the bottom half of the building anyways, especially with the fencing, but at least the north end will give some visual interest along Linden as people are driving by.
So the elevation, fronting Linden, you're asking for it to be updated to add a little more zhuzh to it, but what about Ellis Avenue? Is that one you've deemed acceptable?
Yeah, because it's a
That's gonna
local
be-
street.
Okay.
Yeah, if you feel differently, hearing
Okay.
examiner,
I
you're
was just
more than
curious, but-
welcome
Yeah.
to. Now, granted, there is an understanding between the applicant and the city that the floor plans, and again, all the permits have technically been reviewed.
Okay.
Even the changes that I've requested will require them to resubmit, and they are aware of that. But because it was our mistake, my intention was not to make them have to do some wholesale changes, admittedly. And the city does not have design review standards at this time, so any true requirements will have to come through you. And any of those recommended conditions of approval have to be approved by you. So if you see differently and would like additional materials, et cetera, on both the south and the east elevation, staff does support increasing the visual interest along those.
So one of the things that I had questions on is that I was looking at the elevations, and a lot of it had like blue lines crossed through. Like some of the windows, the rear elevation, that will be the one that you want to have additional finishes on. Are those windows gone?
I believe they are gone, yes. The company that does that plan set, that home builder, tends to submit plans like that, where
Okay.
they have basically one master set, and then they go through the different options and cross out the options that they're not gonna be doing on X plan for this address. And so typically, yes, if they have an X through it, then they are not proposing that. And
Okay.
I've seen that in other jurisdictions that we've been involved with as well, and it gets approved by building that way as well. So,
Okay.
but yes,
I was just-
they will not have those windows as
Those wi-
currently
so
proposed.
it's just going to be those doors
Yes.
plus the extra.
Yeah, the
gabling on the
extra material change on the
Yes.
gable.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for
You're
clarifying.
welcome. But staff does recommend that if you approve this SUP, since you are the approver on this, that you make it subject to the conditions of approval and any that you deem need to be additional. And I will stand for any additional questions.
I don't think I have any because I asked all of them while you were giving your presentation.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Joe. All right. It looks like I have the applicant here that would like to come up. Please state your name and address for the record and kind of walk me through how you got to this point.
My name's Enoch Worth. I live at 2659 Sand Hollow Road, Caldwell, 83607. We started with the purchase of Kimball and Linden with that house with the vacant lot. And there had already been a lot split, but it had never been satisfied. Some of the conditions of it was just prohibitive by the previous owners. They had done a lot with the property, but they just couldn't quite get any farther with it. We were glad to purchase it and happy to have it. And so we started working on the plans. The builder that's working on it, they've been great to work with. Some of the things that they have with the way that they do it, just has been a little bit prohibitive to try to get some of these other actions done. Not their fault, it's just their program.
Okay.
They've been really grateful and good to work with to get some of these other adjustments done that we've been working with Joe and the rest of the team and stuff to get handled. As far as that goes with the engineering and everything, some of the original problems that was coming through as far as getting the right-of-way dedicated, we've worked through all of that. But some of that other information, they satisfied what they needed, but they never accounted for that extra bit of right-of-way going through the original split. So we had to rewrite, redo all of that stuff as well.
Okay.
Which in the bottom line, an extra survey or two, you know, it comes at a cost, but if it's gonna be the only way we're gonna get it done, then we're definitely gonna have it done. So, having the adjustments done by the surveyors and all of that stuff, and that's what we need to do to get the duplex up and going. I am grateful as far as where we are with any of these other conditions coming back as far as the fence line goes. That's
Okay, you're
not
okay
an
with that?
issue.
And
No, that's-
landscaping? Okay.
Yeah, not an issue at all. As far as design work on the south, putting in a material break on that gable is very easy to do. We've been in contact for months over top of that as being also when we finally
Yeah.
did get to see you as an examiner and stuff, that we already knew going ahead that we'd make those plan changes as well to create a visual break.
Okay.
You know,
Because, yeah,
so-
because it's pretty bland, especially without
Correct.
those windows now.
Yeah, and both Joseph and I are in real estate on our regular side of work, so at the same point, like, we value that just
Right.
as far as everything for the aesthetics of the area, and we want it to look good. I mean, that was also part of our thing when we had our planned meeting with the neighbors and stuff in between. We talked with them about what we had planned to do with it and what we will use for fence lines and stuff like that, and, you know, making sure it's a good product that's gonna hold up and not just degrade over the next 5 years.
Sure.
So,
And then you did a neighborhood meeting. How are the neighbors feeling about the duplex here?
overall, their biggest curiosity was what had happened, why because they had started to move dirt. And so that was where a lot of their curiosity was. I felt like our neighbors were overall positive. One, because some of them had met me, but most of them hadn't. And so like they would finally be able to actually put a place to the name and knowing that we're also trying to improve the original house as well. There was a beautiful set of trees on that lot, which had to be removed in order to pull the duplex down. We did take a lot of those trees and pulled starts off of them and moved them to other properties and stuff as well. Some of the grapevines that are there are some of the oldest in Caldwell. We knew that. We pulled those starts and moved them to some of the other properties that we have around Caldwell. So, I mean, there already was certain things that we were already trying to do just on that side of what was already there to honor it, you know, so.
Okay, great. This is a question for Joe. Just hold tight one second.
Absolutely.
Joe, they're gonna have to resubmit their building permit,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? And
Yes.
they will have to resubmit with the updated rear elevation.
Yes,
Okay, I just want,
as well as the landscape plan. Nothing should change on the site plan, but
Yeah,
have you thought about doing anything up on Ellis Street, kind of adding a little extra to that
to-
side?
The side is a hard spot to get anything functional.
Okay.
And then in order to not be in danger of the tree and also any functionality to that side of Ellis, you know, I mean, as some of that stuff grows, I would like to see the trees be able to develop to that side of it and kind of block it in. My opinion of trying to put a false gable to that side isn't really in the best sides of it. I would love to see like a back arbor that would be a little bit more functional eventually after we get the building done and everything else to give the duplex a little bit more of a shaded area for people to recreate in those areas. But the side is a hard spot because then it won't be a functionally useful piece on that corner of that unit compared to even nothing against the opposite side that actually would go towards the house towards the west. I thought about it, trying to get, because ideally I would have loved to have had it turned the other way.
Oh, okay.
But just as far as the way that the lot goes and trying to get the dimensions for a good amount of parking that was off-street, and then having a house that kind of fit in the square footage that we're looking for, you know, being more of a 3-bed, 2-bath, and not being something that was just, I mean, my personal opinion is Caldwell needs everything. It doesn't matter if it's 900 square feet, even 800 square feet, you know, on a up, as far as square footage, we need everything as far as properties goes. But when it came down to this, my ideal type of a layout, I would love to be single level, but it had to be a 2-story, and then it had to be turned sideways so we could give them a garage, we could give them, you know, everything to the point where it could be self-contained. And so we had to turn it sideways in order to, and extend it, and then have that driveway kind of face in and go along on that side of
Okay.
Ellis to make it all work to create a safe way to get on and off of the road. And
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
No, I see. Okay. I think I've asked every question I had listed. Is there anything else you'd like to share with me before I close the public hearing?
No, just, I appreciate the staff's time and help with all of this stuff and the challenges that we've had, even for having to go back to
I know.
getting it redone. It's been good to get it here, so.
They're not gonna have to pay 2 sets of building permits, are they?
Pay? I don't believe so. I wouldn't
Okay.
assume so. They would just have to resubmit.
Resubmit,
We'll
okay.
re-kick
Just
it.
do a plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll close the public hearing, and based on staff's findings, the public testimony, and the facts presented, I will approve SUP 24-23. Okay.
Very good,
That-
thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, it is 3:01, almost 3:02, and I will close the public hearing for today. Thank you.